What is scarier than this? You know? Or you're sitting here with your fingers just kind of like vibrating above the keyboard, like little hummingbirds. And you know, as soon as you put that first word on the page, you have already, it's the wrong word, you've already ruined the page. You know. I'm going to say something here about ideas and how we can't get ideas onto the paper. It's because ideas aren't language. Ideas are more intuitive kinds of imagery things. And once you start wrapping language around them, which language is so concrete and specific, so what your idea is never going to be exactly on the page. So just so that you know that. But choosing the right first word. This is why I stopped writing my fiction on the computer, because I could hardly get my first sentence down before I was editing it, because it was wrong. It's always wrong. The first sentence is always wrong. Do you know how many times I made my notes? How many times I started my notes? I got up at 3 o'clock this morning and I knew my notes were wrong. That was after I went down to the business center at 11:30 last night to change my notes so that my introduction would be right. So then, I don't know if you saw me over there, probably not, but I was over there scratching my notes this morning too, sitting over there. I sat in my car for a few minutes, you know, getting that right introduction. What's the right first word? Well, there isn't a right first word. You know, there isn't. None of them is going to be right. And so just go with the one that comes. That's what I say. And this is why the other thing about writing practice and why I believe in it so much and why it works for so many people is because we start with a writing prompt. And when you start with a writing prompt, you don't have to know the right word or the wrong word. You just get to start. That prompt is like music that invites you to dance. It's like the starting blocks for a runner, you know, that you push off and you're ready to go around the track. So, and it doesn't matter what the prompt is. You have written your own prompt there, by the way. And so this book has a prompt for every day. What happens when we have prompts, I'm going to just read you a prompt or two out of here. What happens when we have a prompt? Okay, March 17th, an emergency exit. It's not describe one, it's not tell a story about one, it's just an emergency exit. And I bet each and every one of you got some kind of an image in your mind, some kind of a little picture, a detail in your mind about either an emergency exit, about the word exit, about emergency. Something came for you. So what you do with writing practice is you grab the tail end, or any part of this detail that you can, any part of that image that you can get a hold of, you grab it, you jump on board, and you take it for a ride, however long you've given yourself, 10 minutes, 17 minutes. I can't go writing by hand longer than 20 minutes. I get hand cramps. So there you go, and you're off. And what will happen is this: well, I don't want to write about an emergency exit. Never mind. You're just getting the pen moving. Once you get the pen moving, you're going to hopefully surrender to the page. You're going to stop thinking. The thing that you were trying to do when you were looking for that right word is you were thinking, and you were doing what that left side of your brain does best, which is measure, judge, evaluate, analyze. You're trying to fill the form with something that is the right thing, and we love our brains for being able to do this, but it really gets in the way when you're writing. What you want to do is get into that place where you're outside yourself. You're not self-conscious. The ego has stepped aside. The editor, we don't know. Maybe she's gone out for coffee, sharpening her pencils or whatever she's doing, because there you are. So you start writing, and you're not writing it about, each one of us has a story about an emergency exit. As you begin writing this story, what you want to write about is going to show up on the page. Organically, it's going to come. It may not be the story that you intended to write, but it's the story that wants to be told. And we can't always say, this is the story I want to tell. We have to let the stories come through us. If you keep pushing those stories away, they're going to keep showing up again and again. If you keep stopping them from writing them, if you keep stopping that, it's going to be whatever you try to write, there's always going to be the guard at the palace gate that says, who goes there? And every time who goes there, you have to say and identify, then you're not writing what authentic stories want to be written. Instead, you're writing what you think should be written or you think you want to write. And so writing in this way, to be a writer who continues to write, you have to surrender to the page. You have to surrender to the process. You have to allow that free fall to happen. And boy, that's scary. There isn't anything we like more than being in control. And when you turn yourself over to your art, you have lost control. And this gets so scary because anything can happen. And it can be very dangerous for us. It can be very dangerous for telling secrets that we said we'd never tell. It can be very dangerous for just exposing ourselves, being vulnerable on the page. And I'm not just talking about the kinds of maybe things that you would tell that would be deep secrets that your mother wouldn't want you to tell. You know, not those kinds of family secrets. It is that being vulnerable on the page, like if you know that I am so insecure about how I'm going to start my talk today that I get up at 3 a.m. to rewrite the, you know, if I put that on the page and let you know how vulnerable I am, are you going to like me? Are you going to respect me? Are you going to accept me? Are you going to accept me? Or are you going to reject me? And so that's why it's so scary to put what we are on the page. There it is, concrete, black and white. Yikes. When I'm doing writing practice and I get to a scary place, I can even see the difference in my handwriting. My handwriting, instead of this when I'm open and loose and really moving and my handwriting is just flowing, flowing, flowing like this. And once I get to those dangerous places, you can even tell, your body will tell you, your hands get, you know, my writing gets really cramped. I stop breathing, you know. I have to do this again and again. Breathe again and again to loosen up, to just, it's okay. Because the thing about writing practice, and when you're just writing in your notebook and you're doing this kinds of thing, it's not for publication. This is raw first draft stuff. You're going to work with this. This first draft stuff is not what is the book. I mean, none of us, it never comes out perfect in first draft. Well, maybe once, I don't know anybody when it has ever come out perfect. Maybe one word, maybe one image, maybe there's something. And this is why we call them drafts, and why you have 75 endings to As the Sun Also Rises. I think that's what I've heard, 72 endings. Somebody said to Hemingway, why'd you write it so many times? He says, I couldn't get the words right. You know, this is what it takes. All of these drafts, we write it, just get the story down.